this video is about resilience and how to become more resilient. I always found it very interesting how some people recover very quickly from setbacks in life and possibly even return stronger as a result, and others can barely process them. So in this video, we're going to talk about neuroscience and resilience and the connection between those two topics. My name is Serafine. I am a medical student studying in Austria, and this is my channel about mental health, neuroscience, life as a med student, and anything that helps to master your life better by understanding your body and your brain. So if you're interested in these topics, please consider subscribing. And now let's get started with the video. You might have noticed that very often in life, it's not these big traumatic and extreme life-changing events that make people mentally ill. It's rather often like smaller stress situations that repeat and in their sum make us sick and unhappy. And one of the key factors here, what many people don't know, is a dysregulated amygdala. Numerous MRI studies have shown that there is a connection between a hypersensitive amygdala and different anxiety disorders. So in case you're interested, I linked some of these papers down below in the description so you can check them out. A study from the University of Chicago has recently concluded that there is not only a connection between a hypersensitive amygdala and different anxiety disorders, but also is a dysregulated amygdala a marker for low resilience and a risk of depression in young adults. So let's take a look at what the amygdala actually is. The amygdala is a brain structure that is actually really small. You have two of them, one on the left side and one on the right side of your brain, and they look like almonds. So they are almond shaped. Amygdala is also the Latin word for almond. And although they are so small, the amygdala is incredibly powerful. It plays a very important role in our survival. You can imagine it like your personal bodyguard, because whenever there is a danger, your amygdala triggers a fight, flight, or freeze response. So you either fight the danger, you run away from it, or you freeze because your own emotions block you. The amygdala is also the part of your brain that connects emotions to your memory. So when you think back and you feel a certain emotion towards a certain memory, your amygdala does that. Now, of course, the amygdala sometimes also becomes active when there's no real danger. We all know this, for example, from giving a presentation, in my case, because I hate these things, speaking in front of people and you get these anxiety symptoms. That is your amygdala. Or for some people, they struggle with having difficult conversations and they get sweaty and anxious. Amygdala. Now, the good thing is that the amygdala is part of our brain, and our brain has neuroplasticity, which basically just means that you can train it and you can change it anytime. There is very high neuroplasticity in children, and as we age, it becomes less. But still, there is always hope, and you can always change and train your brain. That's why I find neuroscience super fascinating. Now, what the amygdala does, and we're going to talk about this more when talking about how to downregulate your amygdala, is that it activates your sympathetic nervous system, and that releases stress hormones like cortisol or adrenaline. And you don't want to be high on those hormones all the time and then having them floating your body, because long term, of course, that is going to create a lot of problems mentally and physically. So if your amygdala is not calmed and regulated despite constant stress and stimuli nowadays, and by the way, I'm not a fan of just venting how difficult life is nowadays, because it has always been difficult. I can promise you it was not fun being hunted by a lion and living in caves. But still, we need to regulate and calm down our amygdala so it's not in a constant state of alert. So what do we need to do to down-regulate the amygdala activation? first of all, there are the smaller and more obvious things. Human touch, for example, a hug or kissing, cuddling, or even having sex leads to a release in oxytocin, which is another hormone that inhibits the activity of the amygdala. But that alone is not enough to downregulate your amygdala permanently in the future, but that is our goal. The key here is self-regulation. Self-regulation is extremely powerful when it comes to inhibiting your own amygdala activation. We do this with mindful meditation. And let me tell you, from someone that was never much into meditation, I never found it helpful at all. This actually really helps. Mindfulness meditation offers the opportunity to learn to regulate yourself. If it is practiced correctly and important regularly, it can even lead to the amygdala activation not being triggered so easily. There are a lot of guided mindfulness meditation videos on YouTube. So if you like that stuff, you can try and see which one works best for you. If you don't like guided meditations, there's another method that I can really recommend. It's called the 5-4-3-2-1 method. The cool thing about this method is that you don't need anything for it, and you can do it wherever you're at and whenever you want to. You're just gonna sit somewhere and you're gonna take some time to find 5 things that you can see in your environment. Just kind of noticing their presence, and then you're gonna close your eyes and you're gonna find 4 things that you can hear. And then you are going to find 3 things that you can feel. Could be, for example, just your feet touching the ground, or in my case, my hands touching each other. And then you're gonna find 2 things that you can smell, and in the end, 1 thing that you can taste. So the reason why this is helpful is because you are concentrating on all of your senses. You're using your senses, and by that, you're sending a signal to your amygdala that there is no actual danger in this current situation that you're in right now, because otherwise you wouldn't even have the time to concentrate on all of your senses. If you keep doing this for a longer period of time, your amygdala will be trained that many situations aren't even that threatening. The next point is breathing, and I must say in advance, once again, I did not think much of breathing exercises before because they seem very trivial to me. Like, breathing is something we do automatically. But now from a neuroscientific perspective, it really makes sense, and I'm gonna tell you why. When the amygdala is active, the autonomic nervous system is also active. And as the word suggests, the autonomic nervous system automatically regulates certain changes in your body, such as the heartbeat, blood pressure, and digestion, and sweating or not sweating. And the autonomic nervous system consists of 2 different branches. One of these branches is the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system is triggered when we feel anxious or nervous. Now, the second branch is the parasympathetic nervous system, and this branch is responsible for all the opposite biological body changes. So anything associated with relaxation, for example, your heart rate decreases and you stop sweating and you just become very relaxed. That is the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, if you consider breathing and these 2 branches, you will find that inhaling is associated with the sympathetic nervous system, so the one responsible for stress reactions, while exhaling is associated with the parasympathetic nervous system, so the one responsible for relaxation. But in stressful situations, many of us forget to exhale completely, but it is the exhaling that activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that we want to be activated rather than the sympathetic nervous system. So now, as simple as that sounds, make sure to exhale properly and for as long as you can, so that you activate your parasympathetic nervous system and down-regulate your amygdala. What also calms your amygdala is the combination of breathing and your own voice. And this is due to the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is considered as a regulating junction between the brain and other organs. As the 10th cranial nerve, it runs from the brainstem in your head through your chest and neck to the abdominal area. And experts assume that this nerve, which is connected to the vocal cords and muscles in your throat and inner ear, is activated when making sounds. So again, as simple as the sounds, making sounds might have a soothing effect on the limbic system. Now, if you're too upset and stressed or nervous to hum, researchers recommend growling, like animal growling. So growl like an animal while exhaling. It will have a great effect on your amygdala. The Max Planck Institute of Education and Research has recently published an article describing how a 1-hour forest walk can reduce hyperactivity of the amygdala. The next step is aromatherapy. It's proven that aromatherapy has the ability to influence the limbic system. And this system is connected to the amygdala and responsible for processing emotions. I know it from my life that sometimes smelling something has a huge impact on how you feel. Like I get really nostalgic when I smell sunscreen, for example, because it makes me think of holidays as a kid, or like certain perfumes I just really love, or even just the smell of something that I loved during childhood. If you can find a smell that you like and smell it more often, it can instantly change your mood and also has a soothing effect on your limbic system. Also, music promotes the release of oxytocin, and like I've said before, oxytocin inhibits amygdala activation, so listen to music. There is another thing that I have found considered to be helpful during my research, although I must say I've never tried this, yet I wanted to share it, and it is called slow eating. So that is pretty much again about mindfulness and using your senses. What you're supposed to do is you eat and you try to really pay attention to how it really tastes, how the texture really is, so you concentrate on your tasting senses while you're eating. And if you keep doing that, it's also supposed to have a soothing effect on your limbic system. The reason why I find this very interesting is because eating is something, we do every day. And with, wanting to downregulate our amygdala, we want to find a ritual, something that we can do every day, and a routine, so that we do it for a longer period of time and actually notice a difference. So these were my tips how to downregulate your amygdala. But it wasn't the last video about resilience, because I love this topic. I think it's so fascinating, and we all want to become more resilient in order to become unbeatable in life. So if you liked the video, please feel free to subscribe, and see you next time.